Picture a superhero. You probably imagine a being with powers beyond our realm of reality. Powers too intangible to exist, but so real in their ability to change the world for the better. What if I told you power like that isn't just some fantasy prescribed to comic books, movies, and video games? That instead, you have the power to bring stories unheard of, untouched, and unbelievable to millions of people. I've been fascinated with the world of comic book media since I was in diapers. Every second of my childhood has been spent with comics, cartoons, and video games like Justice League, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Lego Batman. I looked up to heroes for their ideals of truth and justice, their bravery, their strength, and their ability to come out on top no matter the circumstance. However, by 5th grade, my admiration for them began to diminish. I'd come to realize that my heroes did not share my complexion, my religion. None of them walked, talked, or acted like me. None of these heroes represented me. This is the same reality shared by millions of children worldwide. People from historically underrepresented communities often must imagine themselves in narratives that don't include them. And there's a historical precedent for this. In the late 1930s and early 40s, the role of superhero was a job tailored exclusively for white men, while other groups remained in the shadows only to reappear as sidekicks, villains, and caricatures. When the blockbuster movie Shazam hit theaters in 2019, people learned of the amazing adventures of Billy Batson and his alter ego, Shazam, but the dark history behind him was shoved behind closed doors. You see, in the 1940s, Billy Batson had a sidekick, Steamboat. Steamboat encompasses every negative stereotype of the historic Black American. He is illiterate, unintelligent, and drawn as a sickening caricature. Stereotyping of Black heroes continued well into the 70s. A prominent example is the first Black hero to receive their own title in Marvel Comics, Luke Cage. Despite being a hero, Cage encompassed certain negative stereotypes of the modern Black American: an ex-convict, a street hustler, a macho hardhead. Keeping these stereotypes memorialized in movies and TV shows has devastating effects on Black and minority communities. So imagine, you're reading stories that tell you that you're a criminal, a lowlife, unintelligent, and less of a human being. And those same stories are being told to people who aren't familiar with you, your culture, or your values. Those same stories, in turn, have an adverse effect on your mental well-being and your ability to maintain healthy relationships. This perception is dangerous because down the road, this fear may lead to violence and undermine your right to equality. This is the reality shared by millions of people worldwide who suffer from the lack of accurate representation in the media they consume, especially in comics. 2 decades have passed since my childhood realization, and in that time, I've come to realize that there's been substantial advancement in the incorporation of authentic heroes from underrepresented communities. Take Miles Morales, for example. Miles is half African American, half Puerto Rican, and all Spider-Man. When Into the Spider-Verse hit theaters in 2018, it struck a chord with many viewers like myself. For the first time in my life, I was able to relate and connect to a superhero on a personal level. Miles was an ordinary high school boy like I was at the time. In the opening sequence, Miles sits at his desk, music blaring in his earbuds. He lets himself go while doodling on his schoolwork and getting into his own little world. I felt like I've lived this scene 1,000 times over. It was so real and so relatable. My friends and I raved over this scene because, in a way, we were all Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was all of us. Having someone like Miles brought such a familiar perspective to a classic story that made it more accessible and inspired a generation of empowered youth of all colors and backgrounds. Miles impacted young African Americans like me, but the potential for change is much greater, as illustrated by Black Panther. Black Panther shows the Black community is multifaceted. that being black isn't a trait exclusive only to African Americans, but is shared by Africans as well. This is integral in representing not only all races, but the different people in each race, and then sharing those differences with those who may not be familiar with them. Black Panther, aka King T'Challa of Wakanda, is authentic. His actions are relatable. He's a king, a dignified man, and most importantly, he is a leader and a role model not only to his people, but to us, the audience. When Black Panther entered the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2018, it was met with incredible success, earning over $1.3, and I repeat, $1.3 billion at the box office. A century ago, this feat would have been impossible, and yet a movie with a majority black cast, the first of its kind, exceeded all economic expectations. Through Black Panther, people previously unvoiced in comic book movies had their stories told. For the first time in my life, I heard my parents' native language of Hausa spoken out loud in an American film. For the first time ever, 100 million native speakers of Hausa were able to hear their language in a blockbuster hit. While Black Panther has made great strides in global outreach and change, we cannot move forward until every individual is able to see themselves reflected in their heroes. Although Black Panther and Miles Morales have provided the groundwork for social change, there's still so much more that needs to be done. Representation must be accurate and consistent in entertainment media. When we prioritize positive representation, society as a whole benefits. Positive media portrayals create greater empathy for minority communities, but more importantly, protects the mental well-being of these groups, leading to academic success and healthy relationships. Accurate representation can build an entire generation of empathetic and open-minded young people that will soon be the backbone of our society. When we come together to celebrate our differences, we have the power to strengthen communities, rebuild economies, and fortify the future of our nation. We must ensure more stories like these get told to every kind of person, no matter their background, color, religion, or class. You have the power to change the status quo in the way we view our world through the lens of comic book media. A power that transcends the ability to fly, shapeshift, or read minds. You have the power to bring stories to everyone, regardless of circumstance. You have the power to incite global change with just a few small steps. Start by picking up new and diverse content that represents all people. I challenge you to consume content that may be different than what you're used to and make room for new characters to inspire generations of inclusivity. Additionally, support creators that value accurate representation by sharing their stories with those closest to you. The more support these creators receive, the more other people, and in turn companies, will look to them to create content that celebrates diversity. This reality is in reach, but you must use your power. The power to champion the way stories are told and who they're told to. The truth is, one hero can't save the world on their own. Alone, we may see these stories wither away into forgotten history. But together, we have the power to bring these stories to life and leave a legacy for generations to come. And in the words of the great King T'Challa, in times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe. Thank you.